Welcome to my channel. You're watching KNV Monsters. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys the process of switching the Vital Bracelet BE button switch. It's basically a little switch behind the buttons here. The top button isn't clicking the way I want it to, so I'm just going to do a quick video here where I take out the switch and solder on a new one. First thing you want to do is obviously take off the wristbands so that you can access the BE. And on the back of the BE here, there's going to be 4 screws, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. Basically just want to unscrew those as well. And just a disclaimer for anybody watching this video, this is by no means a tutorial of any kind. I am not a professional solderer, nor do I have any kind of professional advice for replacing your switch. I'm just kind of showing the process of what I did to replace my switches because one of them was going bad. And as you can see here, those little black buttons on the side of the device there, those are the switches. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to unscrew the circuit board from the device to access those switches. And so once you're done unscrewing the top and the bottom screw, basically the circuit board detaches from the bottom of the BE. And if you are going to be attempting this yourself, just make sure not to rip or tear the red and the black wire that is attached to the speaker, as well as the wires that are attached to the heart rate sensor on the bottom there. So you kind of just got to butterfly it out. This little piece right here on the side basically just pops off. Sometimes the battery sticker will be sticking to it, so it might be a little bit hard to get it out, but just got to pry it off and it comes off pretty easily. The next part that you're going to want to do is this battery that's attached to the circuit board here. There's some wires on the bottom of the circuit board, and so what you're going to want to do is pry off the battery from the top part and just make sure not to break any of the wires when you're pulling the battery back, and it should unfold just like that. And then just to make things a little bit easier as well, I'm going to detach the front part of the screen from the circuit board as well. And it's pretty much that gold plastic that you're seeing there. It snaps into place on the circuit board. You just have to gently snap it off and then it detaches like so. So pretty much I've got everything prepared for the replacement now, and so I'm going to put the BE aside for now. A couple things you're going to need in order to do this job is first you need to order some switch replacements, which I will provide a link for that item part in the description below. You're also going to need a soldering kit. I got one off of Amazon for about $15. Came with a couple different tips and some flux paste, and just for some extra help you might want to get a PCB clip holder as well. And so what I did here is basically what I'm going to try to do is weaken the contact points on the switch by adding flux to the already soldered contact point and then soldering it and using a desolder pump to remove the solder that's already there. A couple things that I want to mention is I was having a little bit of issues with my soldering tip. As you could tell from the video, it is a little charred. And so what was happening is the contact with the solder was not getting hot enough, which kind of made this a little bit difficult. And the reason why it's charred is because I've been using this just for practice on other switch replacements and other devices, and so it kind of just wore out the tip of the solder point a little bit. But it's a quick and easy fix. Just get some sandpaper and you can sand down the tip to unchar it, and it'll make the contact pretty fresh after that. So I ended up doing that after this video was done. And so what you want to do is there's 4 contact points on each corner of the switch. In order to remove that, you could either use a desolder pump, or you can use desolder wick, which is another option as well. Basically, you just want to apply the flux paste and then solder the tip till it gets liquidy hot, and either use the pump or the solder wick to remove the solder. And so that's what I'm attempting to do here, but with the charred tip it's a little hard to do because the solder that's already applied is not getting hot enough. So yeah, word of advice for anyone who's going to attempt to replace your switches on the BE, just make sure to use a fresh tip, or to just sand down an already used tip that might have some char on it, which could make the process a little bit more difficult. Also too, the PCB clip holder is not necessary, but it is definitely helpful. The one that I got off of Amazon was about $10, and it came with a little magnifying glass as well, because these contact points are definitely really tiny and hard to see. If you're blind like me, I have to wear glasses, and so it's really hard to see the contact points. Also too, maybe just try to keep a steady hand as much as possible whenever doing this, because you don't want to damage the circuit board as well while you're desoldering in the process. So yeah, at this point I was pretty much aware that the solder tip was not working as well as I wanted it to, so I was thinking that I've already weakened the contact points enough, and so I started to pry off the switch, which is totally fine. It's just going to detach from the circuit board. I wouldn't recommend doing it this way, but you know, this is what I did. Once you're done taking off the old switch, basically you're just going to want to replace it with the new one. And this is what the switches look like in the package. I ordered them off of a website, which I will leave a link in the description for this video down below. So in case you're looking to get this done, you will have that link to order the switch parts. In order to get the switch to stay still, I basically just clamped down the switch onto the PC board with the clip holder, so that whenever I'm trying to solder the new wire on, it wouldn't move out of place. And the size of the solder wire that I'm using here is 0.3 millimeters. Again, if I had a fresh tip or a solder tip that was actually working properly, this would have been a lot easier, but the soldering wire wasn't burning as nicely as I wanted it to. So it was making this definitely a little difficult. So I got one side soldered on. I'm just going to switch the PC board around so I can access the other sides of the switch and solder those points as well. I think actually right here I decided to switch to a bigger soldering wire size. And the soldering wire size of this particular one is going to be 0.6 millimeters. This made it just a little bit easier because I was able to heat the solder and have it melt onto the contact point a little more easily because it has more wire to come into contact with the soldering point, so it made it a little bit easier. A little trick that I learned is poke the soldering wire into the flux. That way when you apply it to the place that you want to solder it onto, you could just apply the solder to the wire and it already has the flux on it, so it's kind of ready to go. Also, just try to be careful as well when you are using the soldering iron. The metal part that goes all the way up to the plastic, which then meets the rubber, all that is really hot, so just be careful what you come in contact with. Make sure to grab the soldering iron by only the rubber, and just be careful not to burn yourself. So I'm testing the switch here and it looks like everything is fine. It's clicking well and it's holding in place. So now the only thing left to do is to put everything back together the way it was and to test it afterwards. Before putting everything back together, I just decided to test it right then and there. And so I'm clicking the button here, and as you can see, it is working. All the contact points are soldered well, and the device is working fine. If you take a look at this switch on the left side, that is another switch that I replaced as well. It's a pretty bad job, to be quite honest, and I think I did a lot better on this second switch repair here. Whenever you click back the screen onto the circuit board, just make sure that that little pin goes into the circuit board all the way. Should make a little clipping sound, but if it doesn't and it just slides right in, don't force it in because you don't want to break the circuit board. Just make sure everything is flushed and sitting well on top of each other. Also, don't forget to put the piece back on the side here. What I noticed too is that the foam sticker on the back of the battery was getting in the way of this little part right here for the SD card where you insert the chip into. And so if you're having trouble putting it back on, most likely the battery foam is just in the way. So yeah, everything looks good. The device is back to the way it's supposed to be. And so I'm just going to put the case back on and screw everything in and then test it again. One thing I would recommend is when you put the cover back onto the BE, just test the button out, make sure it clicks. Probably should have did that this time around. So I went to go test the device here, just to make sure everything was working fine. And I'm not exactly too sure what happened here, but the top button was stuck in place. And so what happened was, I think maybe the battery was pushing the circuit board a little bit to the right. And yeah, basically the button was stuck in place, and so it just kept going. So again, yeah, just test the buttons before you put it back on. Make sure that there's a click and that it's not just forcing the switch in a hold position. So I just turned the device off, took everything apart again just to double check everything. And I wasn't sure exactly what the issue was, but everything seemed fine. I was testing the button afterwards, and it started to click again. Well, it started to click in the first place because this is the first time I tested it. But yeah, it seemed to be working after that, so I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe it was the way I screwed on the case. I'm not really sure, but the button is working totally fine now. So yeah, just double checking the button, making sure that it works, and it looks like everything is working fine now. So, but yeah, that's my video, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, this is not a tutorial or anything like that. I'm just showing you what I did to replace my button switches, because on both of my BEs, within about 6 months, the bottom button stopped working. So I just decided to order the parts. I couldn't really find any kind of YouTube videos specifically on the switch replacements, and so yeah, I just decided to do one of my own. I ordered the parts, ordered all the tools necessary to get the job done, and now I have working BEs again. So yeah, if you don't want to spend another 70 to 80 bucks, you could probably just spend maybe 30 on the necessary parts to get this done yourself. And again, yeah, I'm not a professional, but if you want to try this on your own, do it at your own discretion and try not to break anything. That's pretty much what I would recommend. Anyways, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. Comment down below if you're thinking about changing out your BE button switches. This has definitely been a game changer for me personally, because I like to use my BE often, and just having a way to fix it whenever the buttons go bad is definitely a plus. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.